Well, the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, the BMA, was at the Lebombo border port of entry on the 23rd of December for his deployment to intensify operations as well as facilitation of movement for this peak period of the festive season. Thousands of commuters have been making their way to various holiday destinations in order to celebrate the festive season and, of course, be with loved ones. And as always, this has seen a huge influx in terms of traffic volumes, hindering on the normal flow of processing as well as travel time. For more on this discussion, let's welcome Border Management Authority Commissioner and CEO, Dr. Mike Masiapato. Dr., warm festive greetings to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What was the purpose of your deployment and what was your observation on your visit to Lebombo on the 23rd?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Alicia, and thanks for the invite. Yeah, the purpose for my visit in Lebombo was fairly to give support to the colleagues on the ground who are fairly having a very tough job, as it were, particularly in view of the fact that we are anticipating a full recovery to the pre-COVID times, which is supposed to average around 6 million people that we are supposed to facilitate during this period. So I was on the ground on Friday, just in the past week, as well as on Saturday. And at that time, we actually, I would say, locked the highest number of people that we fairly facilitated out of South Africa into the Mozambican side, which actually locked at around 28,000, as it were, on that day. But all in terms of Lebombo, we had facilitated around 360,000 people that exited South Africa. It also included some South Africans who opted to go to the Mozambique beaches to celebrate the period, as it were. So otherwise, everything went very well according to plan.
Nice, Doctor. How well equipped is the Border Technical Committee at this time, and how are they supporting the operational team that is on the ground?
Yeah, the Border Technical Committee, as it were, it is a structure established by the Border Management Authority Act. It is fairly consisting of the various directors generals and lot of the leadership from across government and entities who are responsible for or who have a stake in as far as border management issues are concerned. So in this instance, what we do is we basically deploy those various leadership across the country, across our 72 ports of entries, but we do not cover all the 72 in terms of the deployment of the BTC members. We only cover our top 10 critical ports, as it were. So fairly, they were able to go to the various ports. They were on the ground. They actually supported the operatives and make sure that we facilitate the people out of the Republic, as it were. And otherwise, we are also very much ready to handle the last leg of the exit, which is this coming weekend. And then from there, we will be ready to deal with the return, which will start on the 2nd of January, 2024.
You're going to be extremely busy, Doctor. Have you collaborated with other law enforcement agencies to ensure a smooth processing as well as timeliest resolution to any situation that might arise and need law enforcement assistance on your part?
Yeah, indeed, Alicia. So what we fairly do is, particularly for the exit, we do ensure a very close collaboration with the traffic officers from the respective municipalities where our ports are. And in that instance, we work with them to make sure that we deal with corridor management, make sure that the people follow the queue, and make sure that there is no any disorder on the corridor, as it were. So in this instance, we actually worked very well with them. And of course, that includes even to work with members of the South African Police Services on the basis of any kind of crime that would actually ensue around the corridor, as it were. But for the return, Alicia, our key collaborator becomes members of the SANDF on the borderline, primarily because we do have incidences where people would want to avoid coming to the port and try to enter the country through the borderline. So there we have deployed. From the 2nd, we started intensifying the deployment of the border guards, the SANDF, together with the Immigration Inspectorate from Home Affairs that are actually assisting us to deal with the return.
And on that note, Doctor, now documentation is usually one of the biggest contributors, of course, to the slow processing as well as verification of passengers as well as motorists. What plans are currently in place to ensure that this runs smoothly?
So fairly what we do, Alicia, in this instance, we basically call upon travelers to make sure that as they are intending to exit the Republic, they have to make sure that they have the requisite documents that will enable them to smoothly be administrated at the ports of entry. So what we fairly talk about is a basic passport. In this instance, we also indicate that the passport should have enough pages through which we should be able to stamp the passport as you exit the country or even as you return. The other key requirements are relating to traveling with minors. As we have always emphasized, if you are a father, you travel with a minor, you need a letter from the mother confirming that she's aware that you are exiting the country with the child, and vice versa. So all of those are very critical issues. But the last thing that we also say, Alicia, is that when people arrive at the port, they need to interact with the officials of the Border Management Authority, or I will say law enforcement officers, and make sure that they don't try to get assistance from individuals, because we do have some individuals with nefarious intent that are found around the corridor.
And on that note, Doctor, I mean, we know the issue of asylum seekers is a huge problem. There's been a lot of questions that have been asked. How are asylum seekers freely able to go back to their home countries? Talk to us about how you're dealing with this problem.
Yeah, no, remember, Alicia, when we talk about an asylum seeker or an individual who has been granted asylum in South Africa is not expected to go back to their country.
Yes.
Because remember, when you actually have requested a country to anyway protect you under the international protocol, it means that you are in this country because you are running away from a particular challenge in your own country. So at the end of the day, you are not supposed to be. So those people who might actually be, for example, commuting from South Africa back to their countries, they are not necessarily asylum seekers. In many instances, they are economic migrants who are fairly working in the Republic. What we keep on emphasizing is that colleagues must make sure that they have the requisite documents. But in instances where somebody is arriving at our port to enter South Africa as an asylum seeker, we do have processes through which we give them the permit through the Immigration Act and allow them to enter the Republic and go make the relevant application at the refugee reception centers, which are managed by the Department of Home Affairs.
Now, Doctor, I know you're going to be very busy. We're going to leave it there. I know your next destination is, of course, at the very busy Beitbridge border post. And, of course, we're going to touch base with you once that commences. Thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Border Management Authority Commissioner and CEO, Dr. Mike Masiapato.